In 1941, a 19-year-old man fleeing the Japanese occupation of Hong Kong arrived on the islands of Macau with nothing but the clothes on his back and $2 in his pocket. What he would do next would change the city forever. Meet Stanley Ho, the gambling king of Macau.
The world's biggest gambling mecca.
I know nothing of gambling.
He built his gambling empire from scratch.
I still don't gamble.
The man who came to be known as the godfather of gambling
And became one of Asia's richest men.
I've got this franchise because it was a challenge for me.
We can trace the rise of one of China's strangest cities through his story and through the buildings he built here. From the retro-futuristic to the bombastic, to the sleek and the modern that took inspiration from him. When Stanley Ho arrived in Macau, it was a sleepy backwater. But when he left, he'd grown it into a heaving metropolis and the gambling capital of the world, surpassing even Las Vegas. This is the man who built Macau, China's Sin City. So let's get one thing straight. Macau is a city of contradictions. It's in a country where gambling is strictly illegal, yet its gaming industry is 7 times larger than that of Las Vegas. It has so many people that it's the most densely populated place in the world, yet more than 2/3 of it is built on water, or rather land reclaimed from the sea. It's Portuguese and it's Chinese, it's east and it's west, and you can see that reflected in its architecture. You see, Macau sprung from a similar one country, two systems policy that Hong Kong did, yet it took a completely different path. In many ways, this is the anti-Hong Kong. It was once a Portuguese colony in direct competition with Hong Kong for trade, but it was losing out. So naturally, Macau turned to gambling and ladies of the night. This gave the city an edge, legalising the gaming industry in the 1850s and turning a blind eye to other nefarious activities boosted the economy. And Macau took to gambling like a fish to water, only water was exactly Macau's problem. Ever since the 17th century, Macau had used some form of land reclamation to expand the city, the first instance of which was a land bridge built to connect the biggest island of Macau to mainland China. By 1912, Macau consisted of just 2 islands measuring a total area of 11.6 square kilometres. Back then, the city didn't look like it does now. This section was actually 2 separate islands called Taper and Colane. The space in between was reclaimed through a process called infilling, where large rocks are piled into the area, then filled with clay until the new land rises above sea level. It's a process that Macau would come to really perfect over the coming century. Then, in 1941, the gambling king came to take his crown. Stanley Ho came from a once wealthy family that went bankrupt in the Great Depression. His father lost their fortune on the stock market, then fled to Vietnam, leaving behind his wife and children. Ho was just 13 years old. He was hungry to live the high life once again. Escaping the Japanese occupation and landing on the shores of Macau, he rebuilt his life. He traded kerosene and military supplies, slowly building up capital and establishing himself as an entrepreneur. But he always kept an eye on the potential of Macau's gaming industry. By the 1960s, he was a formidable figure in the city. He had wealth and influence. In 1962, he gained an exclusive gambling license over Macau, effectively creating a monopoly on the gaming industry of the city, one that would last for the next 4 decades. He built several casinos, including this. His crown jewel, the Casino Lisboa. Opening in 1970, it was something Macau had never seen before. A large-scale, fully equipped, glittering casino. Its bold neon lights and golden facade, both somehow retro but futuristic at the same time. It set the tone for the rest of this city. This was Vegas, Macau style. During its peak in the late 20th century, the Casino Lisboa was one of the largest and most profitable casinos in the world. And it looked it. There was just one problem. The city of Macau could not keep up with its sudden popularity, which sparked a construction boom. Macau's road networks, public transportation systems and airport all needed to be upgraded, and with the tax revenue the gambling industry brought in, Macau could suddenly afford it. Famously, Ho also pioneered a ferry system that would directly bring in wealthy businessmen from Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland. In the decades since, China's wealthy elites have continued to pour money into luxury assets, and it's a strategy that holds up to this day. As recent data shows, high net worth individuals from mainland China had the highest expenditure on art and antiques in both 2023 and the first half of 2024. In fact, they spent more than double that of any other region, boosting the Hong Kong art market to the second busiest in the world. While in New York, a $6.2 million banana just made headlines, alongside various new artist records climbing into the tens and even hundreds of millions. Luckily, with Masterworks, our longtime video sponsor, you can easily get in on the growing excitement without needing millions of dollars or any expertise in art. Diversifying your wealth into fine art like that of Banksy or Picasso is easy. Masterworks recently posted another profitable return from selling a Basquiat painting for $8 million earlier this year. As the art market slowly makes headlines again, Masterworks offerings can sell out quickly. But since so many of the B1M subscribers have signed on so far, you can get priority access with the QR code on screen, the link in the description, or at masterworks.art/B1M. Now, let's get back to the gambling capital of the world. The city didn't just grow its economy, it quite literally grew its size. More land was reclaimed to build more casinos and hotels, and the island swelled. The gambling king understood that money talks and money builds. Of course, none of this was without controversy. Ho was accused of associating with organised crime to help build his empire, claims he's always denied. At midnight on the 20th of December 1999, Macau was handed over to the People's Republic of China, ending 442 years of Portuguese rule. Change was in the air. Just a few years later, in 2002, the gambling king would face invaders. Ho's monopoly over the city was lifted, and other companies were suddenly allowed to compete in the market. New operators like Wynn Resorts and MGM soon set up shop. Vegas had officially come to the east. But the king wasn't going to go down without a fight. He turned to his beloved Casino Lisboa and set about building an absolutely enormous extension, one steeped in a level of luxury and opulence that Asia had never seen before. In 2007, he opened the Grand Lisboa. Designed by architects Dennis Lau and Chung Man, this building was anything but subtle. In fact, it was meant to be exactly the opposite. It was a loud and bombastic announcement that while foreigners could flood Macau with their own casinos, this island still belonged to the king. Drawing on blooming lotus flowers as inspiration, the tower cantilevers on either side by 20 metres, springing up from a spherical base meant to resemble a golden crown. Very apt. Gold is a very lucky colour in Chinese culture. It represents wealth, fortune and abundance. It's no surprise then that you see a lot of it here, and, well, everywhere, all over the building. Inside are 430 luxury rooms, several Michelin-star restaurants, and so many slot machines. More than 1,000 in total.
I think the Grand Lisboa had a very good intuition when it comes to his design. He was actually trying to create a form and a shape that could symbolize the growth of Macau from being kind of this petite ex-Portuguese colony with a lot of rich history into what is now like a unique location for entertainment globally.
The skyscraper's bold design and massive scale were meant to reinforce Macau's status as one of the world's leading gambling destinations, and its opening coincided with the city's gaming revenue overtaking Las Vegas. By 2013, this revenue reached $45 billion. Macau was now the largest gambling market in the entire world. But the king could not hold on to the throne for much longer. Young pretenders were after the crown. This was when construction began on the Morpheus Hotel built by Ho's rivals. While the Grand Lisboa cost $385 million, the Morpheus building cost an eye-watering $1.1 billion. It would be another step up in luxury. Both buildings are staggeringly bold in their form, but you can see how the Morpheus Hotel evolves and expands on the decadence and flamboyance of the Grand Lisboa. Zaha Hadid was commissioned to design the hotel in 2012. Fate would make this one of her last projects before her death just a few years later. While inspired by the fluid forms found in nature, the building was also incredibly unique in that it didn't reference traditional architectural styles, unlike many of Macau's other buildings. The structure was the result of the restraints of the site, using the foundations of an abandoned condominium building.
We had to come up with a solution that was outside the box.
It's supported by a crisscrossing exoskeleton that, while beautiful to look at, was also one of the most challenging large-scale steelwork structures ever built. That's not just because of its weight, but because this exoskeleton would be the main support for the building instead of interior columns that you typically find in a skyscraper of this size.
The design of the exoskeleton of Morpheus was for sure one of the biggest challenges, not only for us as designers, but moreover our engineering group. It's unprecedented. It's unprecedented because despite the fact there are plenty of built buildings with a steel exoskeleton prone to the facade, in this case the members are actually curved. For structural reasons, the steel member can be, of course, curved in one direction, but they cannot be doubly curved.
To achieve this, the structure was made of over 25,000 tons of steel, requiring incredibly precise engineering to be connected and assembled. It had to be super strong to withstand the typhoon winds common in the region.
The lateral stability of the building was very much challenged by typhoon winds and also seismic loads. The actual approval process was quite challenging because compared to normal building where the return on typhoon is usually 50 years, in this case, the authority asked us to challenge our own design to 200 years of typhoon worst case scenario. Essentially, the building is holding itself with a fantastic exoskeleton that wraps every space, including the void.
But it was all worth it. Having the building's main support on the outside liberates the interior, allowing for truly expansive spaces. You can see that clearly in the spectacular 40-metre high lobby.
You have this 40 meters high atrium wall that actually reaches the first belly, the first curve of the void, the block that we created right at the beginning, allow for us to have a great repetition of the rooms. There are 780 rooms.
Much of the hotel had to be prefabricated out of necessity.
Macau is only 30 kilometers square of land, highly dense. They don't have the luxury of having, huge facilities. So most of Morpheus was actually fabricated and pre-assembled somewhere in China and then reopened up like the box and shipped it to Macau. It's almost entering your own dream, seeing it completed. After seeing it day and night, in your computer screen, then when you are within the spaces, you realize how strong was the idea. The idea here was not to bring to Macau the flavor of an existing city like Venice or London or Paris, but was actually to create something that is the true expression of 21st century architecture, engineering, and in general the humankind can do in the building industry. And I really hope that this project will bring more of this type of architecture. At the end of the day, all of Macau is about entertainment and is about a big component is of course casino, but there are so many theaters, so many important shows, so many water park and activities that you can do within Macau.
4 wives and 17 children later, Stanley Ho, the gambling king of Macau, was tired. He had transformed the city that had given him refuge nearly 8 decades ago. He retired in 2018 and died shortly after in 2020. Macau now is on a different path. while still catering to tourists, the Morpheus Hotel represents a shift in the kind of tourist the city wants to attract, not just gamblers, but luxury seekers as well. In 1912, Macau consisted of just 2 islands with that total landmass of just 11.6 square kilometres. Thanks to rampant land reclamation efforts, that's now tripled, with Macau occupying an area of 33 square kilometres. Around 700,000 people live here, and some 32 million people visit every year, making Macau the most densely populated place on the planet. More people live here per square kilometre than anywhere else. The new Macau urban zone is a project that will add a further 7.3 square kilometres to Macau. While some of this new land is going to be used for hotels and other amenities for tourists, most of it is going to be used for housing developments, both private and public, with a substantial amount being put aside as affordable housing. This new land is for Macau, not for its visitors. It's been a long time coming and is a problem the city needs to face. The gambling king may have passed, but his legacy lives on. Macau today is a vibrant, contradictory place full of drama, and that's just the architecture. If the new Macau should be for the people, maybe the people of Macau can be its next king. Maybe they can shape the city for their needs, not just the attention of tourists. In that case, long live the king. This video was sponsored by Masterworks. You can learn more about that at the link below. You can learn more about this and the other topics on our channel over on the World's Best Construction Podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, make sure you're subscribed to the B1M.